I agree that there are key differences between the Attorney General and the Special Prosecutor. And there's something by design and the law that makes him, quote unquote, more special than an ordinary prosecutor or even the Attorney General. So I don't have qualms with that. But for me, I worry about the kinds of public conduct, right? Whether it's, words, attitudes that may undermine the institutions that underpin our democracy. That is my worry, right? Which is why I don't have there's a way of expressing one's frustration with an institution without creating dissatisfaction or seeming to impugn on the character and integrity of the institution. And particularly because we are also at a time where, and it's not just the courts of law, we are also at a time where our institutions are enjoying the low levels of trust and high perceptions of corruption that we have seen so far in the conduct of the Afrobarometer. And yes, I'm not saying that these institutions are blameless. I'm sure that sometimes some of their own actions or inactions is what feeds the sentiment that citizens, express about them. So okay. I don't absolve them of any I don't give them a clean pass. But I'm also saying that I worry that the office of the Special Prosecutor would be part of this growing chorus that further reinforces this fight that I'm trying to
if the special prosecutor has evidence to suspect so, should it not be the one to lead that chorus?
Fair enough. If he really has evidence that some way somehow the courts or particular courts or particular judges are ganged up against him and making his work very difficult, that is fine. But again, Samson, I just feel or I just worry that in that role that I just disagree that he should be making the kinds of comments publicly that undermines an institution that is already battling public perception and trying to regain the lost trust and increasing perception.
So to be specific, precise, the Special Prosecutor said many lawyers, senior lawyers, have inundated him with calls, and they say that if he continued to issue those statements after rulings, the judges will gang up against him. I'll read that portion. I'll look for it and read it. Either he said that they told him that they will or they may gang up against him. But he gives you the 4 examples. So we can now move into that area. From where you said, you may start the analysis before we get to the lawyers in the studio.
Sure.
From what he finds, from the first, dealing with Sir John's will, which disclosed that he had willed property that belongs to the state to his family, which we will not have discovered perhaps until and unless he had passed. And the will became a matter for probating, what we call probate. The will has to be taken to court for a court to give power for the will, the things in the will to be distributed among those who have been named. And then the discovery comes out. He says, the court says, you came to court too late. Since the man is dead, the doors are shut. The Special Prosecutor says, I take strong exception to this one, and I think the public must know that this does not bode well for the prevention of corruption. and it doesn't help his work. He says, are you saying, and he uses that example, that the governor of the central bank uses money in the consolidated fund to do certain things? Because he's dead, we cannot take that money back? Is that what the court is saying? He disagrees with that. He shouldn't be saying that publicly.
So, but Samson, if what does the law say? And I'm not a lawyer, but what does the law say? From the example that you're giving, if that is the law and the interpretation that a giving judge is giving to that case and saying, well, he's dead, and therefore, per my understanding and interpretation of the law, there isn't anything that can be done. If you disagree with the judge on that, at that level, I'm sure our court system, allows for you to appeal to, another level in the judiciary setup.
In fact, he has appealed. They have appealed to the Court of Appeal.
Okay, so something, is he saying that it's his expectation that every case he takes to the court that he is going to win, or that his interpretation of the law should be what carries his interpretation of the law should win every time? I don't think that is a realistic expectation. I mean, like I said, I'm not a lawyer, but I've followed judicial proceedings enough to know that, even sometimes lawyers themselves and judges themselves do not even agree on the interpretation of
Tell me what you feel about that one. That should it be the law that you steal public assets or funds because you are dead, we shouldn't take it back?
No, that shouldn't be the law. But Samson, if that is the law that is currently on the books, and we find it problematic, which I do, right? Because if I steal public funds and I die, I can bequeath it to my family, to my children, things like that. So then you don't want my family to become beneficiaries of my stealing of public funds. But what does the law currently say? And if the law is what is getting in the way of preventing, this stealing to be bequeathed to someone's, offspring, children, family, then we have to do something about the law.
Okay.
Or if there is room to give the law a different interpretation, then that is what has to be done. But I don't think it's a realistic expectation that you would win every single case you take to the court.
Okay, so the next other case we can